Welcome. We are playing Monsterhearts 2 tonight, set in the court of Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI in Versailles. We're playing with the Gauntlet here. And this is the third of 4 sessions. So let's quickly get a brief intro or a previously on from our characters. Father Jean.
Okay, previously, Father Jean's celibacy has been compromised by an Italian castrati who has now left the court. Father Jean is concerned also about the sins committed by his cardinal, the boss, his boss, the cardinal, and he's going to have to come to terms with the disappearance of his lover.
Hi, I'm David, and I'm playing the Dowager Countess Aurélie de Chatillon this evening. Last time, the Countess returned to court after a year spent in mourning after the unfortunate demise of her husband. Aurélie is a vampire, which I'm sure has no bearing on this state of affairs. She encountered the Queen on her return, Marie Antoinette, and was tasked by her to remove a young courtier, or at least a courtier from court, who was having an affair with the king. So last time she ended by dispatching the Madame de Breville, draining her of blood and leaving her in her room.
Great, and now let's hear from Celine.
Hey, I'm Jim Crocker, and I'm playing Celine. I am new to this particular run of Monsterhearts here. I'm really happy that there was an opening so that I could jump in and play. Celine is the Queen, not the capital Q Queen Marie Antoinette, but the playbook, the Queen, which means that she is in charge of a clique that kind of moves through that society and has some power and kind of acts as a gang that backs her up. So she is an opera diva. She is kind of very stunningly attractive, a femme, she, her, kind of, a songbird, amazing voiced opera singer who's sort of the star of all of the shows at the opera house where they perform. She's got a little group of kind of her little core group of performers that hang out with her are a younger woman named Chloe, who is, like, I think I described her as kind of manic pixie songbird. She's a soprano who plays the kind of the kind of friend to the ingenue type of roles. Gerard, who is the kind of manly man in the cast. He is a baritone and does a lot of the like fight scenes and romantic leading, heroic leading man roles and stuff like that. And Gaston, who is our costumer and makeup artist, and generally responsible for making sure that we look fabulous at all times. So they kind of hang around with us, and they are highly ambiguous, and not necessarily because they look androgynous, but because they kind of flip back and forth between looking like presenting as a man or presenting as a woman as fashion and the mood strikes them, and depending on where they are and who they want to scandalize and not, and stuff like this. So and what would be to their advantage. So that is my little clique, and I think it sounds like we are gonna probably have a night at the opera. So I have kind of a few thoughts floating in my head about the opera house and stuff like that, but I'm more than happy to play to find out, what that looks like and how everything is laid out. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Great. I guess I've got a couple of questions for Celine. One is, obviously you haven't always been the leading lady at this opera house. Do we have a name for the opera house, or is it just the kind of the Paris Opera or the Royal Opera or whatever?
Yeah, let's just call it. I'm fine with just calling it the Royal Opera. That's cool. That's easy to remember, and l'Opéra Roi or something like that. Whatever the French, with an X in it would be.
Yeah.
And there we go. And one of our players notes that the Paris Opera was founded 100 years before, historically 100 years before this. So yeah, we just drop that right in there. I'm totally comfortable with that.
So I wonder, how did Celine come to be the leading lady? Like, who did she push out, and how?
So Celine is a theater brat. So her parents were, singers, and I think she had that kind of thing where she grew up, around the theater and around the stage, and was like brought on stage as a little kid at age 5, kind of thing like that, and just grew up in the theater. And I think that I don't know that it's so much that she pushed somebody out as that everybody knew that she was as soon as she had her first starring role, she was just gonna kind of end up being that person. And I think whoever it was probably is not around anymore, because I would want to make sure that I and all my friends would want to make sure that anybody that might have felt like they got shoved out of the way, they're in Rome now, and not hanging around here.
Okay, so a bloodless coup, or at least, there's no one left around who bears you any ill will.
Oh, there's certainly plenty of people who bear me ill will, but like like my predecessor who had that role before I did, she is not around anymore. No.
Okay. Was there anyone in your clique who would have jumped ship before anyone else, or maybe was in the previous leading lady's good graces?
Oh, Gaston.
Gaston, okay.
Yeah. Like Gaston is, I think Gaston has that thing where he is so good at what he does that he can get away with shit that nobody else could get away with, because we all acknowledge we need him. He can be, he's the only one that can get away with telling me telling me that I was flat.
Okay.
That I missed a note, or that I, that my hair was, messed up, or something like that. But yeah, he was around for the previous diva.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Does that make you trust him less or more?
I think it's that like not having him around is not an option. It's not it kind of goes beyond a question of trust. I trust that he's not trying to undermine anybody as long as he feels secure.
Okay. So,
but I don't share, I don't talk about him I don't talk about my feelings with him, with them.
Okay.
Also, they run off at the mouth, so they can't keep. They're just constitutionally incapable of keeping a confidence.
Orally, you've obviously probably been around long enough to have been at this opera before, right? You've seen the previous leading lady perform?
Yes, yeah, probably did. Back when I was in Versailles before.
what do people say, or maybe what do you think about the how this new leading lady is not quite up to par with the classics?
Yeah, I think probably the criticism of her is that she's perfectly suited to these light modern comedies that are all the rage these days, but she couldn't really handle some of the more classic dramas.
Okay. And I think one for Jean. There's a new up and coming soprano in training at the opera who hasn't quite gotten her break yet, but maybe you're her confessor. Can we give her a name and maybe tell me something that she has shared in the confessional that makes Celine's position a bit more precarious than she might think?
Let's call her Liliane de Montpasson. And let's say that in confessional, as well as confessing the sin of envy against Celine, she's also confessed that Celine actively pimps her troupe for advantage to certain members of the nobility. And that, it is said, is why the Queen wants to go to the opera. Someone's dropped a word in the right ear. Or is the opera coming to Versailles?
I am thinking a trip to the opera would be best because the Queen doesn't want to show her joy at the tragic death of her husband's mistress. If that sounds all right to you. She wants to have a night out and celebrate without being under Louis's gaze. So is that how the Queen came by the idea of going to the opera? Did you let that drop, or did she find out by other means? Jean?
I'm not particularly in the Queen's good books at the moment after the my poor behaviour at the recital in the garden, so I'm not sure she got it from me. I do have a promise from one of her favourites to get an audience, but we've not managed to engineer that yet. So no, I don't think she got it from me.
Well, Celine, do you think there is another reason that the Queen has decided to pay you a visit?
Yeah, I think we're specifically doing a comedy about the royal court in Spain. And so it's oh no, not Spain, Austria.
Okay.
So we're doing a thing about the royal court in Austria, and we knew that would catch her fancy, and be a tiny bit scandalous because some people think that maybe she's still loyal to Austria even though she's Queen of France now and stuff like that. And so it seemed like the kind of thing like we deliberately staged something we thought would catch her attention, and it seems like perhaps and as far as we know, perhaps it has.
And who at court is, I guess, a fan enough of yours already that that they might have passed along the flyer, the printed flyer for the event?
Oh, what is Florent de Cambu's story?
He is a soldier, an officer in some hussar regiment, obviously, because he has the most dashing of uniforms. He is, I think, a bit of a warmonger. He is friends with Hercule, and they share an opinion that the English should be sent packing, and that no peace with them would be honorable. So yeah, I guess I think he's a perfectly reasonable person to show up to the opera.
Yeah, totally. I think that's great because we certainly do our share of, patriotic run up the flag type of comic operas where we depict King George as an utter buffoon and stuff like this. And, like he's like a ranting syphilitic madman in our shows when we put those on. And so I think he I think he is one of those people that like guffaws out loud in defiance of, proper decorum and stuff like this. I envision that being a thing if that's his mode that he's in. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. If you're good with that of him, like actually, he's kind of a hothead and a jerk, but he likes going to shows. Then that's
okay.
That's kind of cool. Little hidden depths.
Okay, so that fits, I think. So let's maybe do a quick painting of the scene of the opera. Sorry, Jim, you want to go?
One thing, which is I've got some strings to give out and
yeah.
So absolutely. let me just do that real quick, which is I think I've only got a single one that I need to worry about because most of my connections are building. So I name 3 characters from members of my gang, and I gain a string on each of them. So I have a string on each of my gang members. So that's Chloe, Gerard, and Gaston. And you find someone threatening, give them a string on you, and take a string on them. And that is obviously Father Jean, because he's got the church behind him. And the church can cause real trouble for us. Like, to the extent that we have to walk a line, like one line is with not pissing off the king, but the other is not with, with not getting too out of our lane that the church decides to take an interest in us as a, to make an example out of. So he's like I want to make sure I stay on his good side, I think. Or get something on him, either way.
Okay. And I guess in terms of, he's, as yes, fairly, he's not the confessor to the king or queen, but obviously he's on your radar. How did that happen?
I think it happened because I gossip with Lorenzo. Or Lorenzo's the castrati, right?
Yeah.
Like I certainly, whatever, like once a week or every couple of weeks, we sit down in a cafe and, have tea and, scones and natter about what's going on. And he has definitely, clued me into Father Jean. And specifically as someone who is having trouble, which means he may try to, make a cause of us to get back in with the queen. So happy, fat, content clergy are not a problem. It's clergy that are feeling desperate or like they need to, score a win. Those are the clergy that we need to watch out for.
Perfect. Okay. So do you want to paint the scene for us at the opera? I guess I'm really wondering, how is this night different from most other nights now that you know that the Queen is coming?
I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, everyone's freaking out. It's like, it's like the president is going to be in the front row. Or the first lady's going to be, but I mean, more to the point, the first lady's, you're doing a Broadway show and word comes down that the first lady's going to be, with a bunch of Secret Service agents in the like that the royal box is going to have the royal, is going to have the royals in it. And what that means is, first of all, we have to run a rehearsal where we shift the entire direction of the show from being out into the audience to playing to the box. So there's we have a whole, we change the blocking and how we stage our numbers and stuff like that to kind of be directed at the Queen. Our director insists on punching up one of the comedy numbers, but basically normally we when we rehearse and we and we go through the motions, but this is like as soon as we get word, we're basically rehearsing nonstop until it's time for the show. And it's just, everyone's just tense and, tense and nervous, and they can't relax. So it's, it's kind of walking on tenterhooks, but also electric. This could be the thing that, that makes or breaks some of the secondary players if they do well here.
Okay, great. So yeah, I think back at Versailles, not quite the whole court, but a significant portion of them are, climbing into these opulent carriages, which will bring them the several miles into the city. Father Jean, are you going in your cassock, or are you dressing up?
No question. Cassock. Jean is devout. The cardinal will be dressed grandly, but I shall be sat discreetly at the back of his box in black. Just a question: has there been any? Has the body of Madame de Breville been found? And is has there been any fallout yet?
Well, I think I'm going to ask ask Orly that, but I mean, presumably, right, based on kind of why I explained the Queen wanted to go here. Yeah, her body has been found, and the king is distraught, obviously, and the Queen secretly, or maybe not too secretly, pleased with that. Okay.
I mean, I'm not a Catholic. I don't know enough about the rules, but should someone grant the last rites after the event?
Well, last rites should be given before death. But yeah, I'm sure you would have had a busy night when that was discovered, with the funeral and everything.
If I noticed anything about the body, is all.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know. Did you notice?
I think it will have been distinctly pale.
Yeah, if it was drained of all the blood, for sure. And obviously, after being, washed for the funeral, you might expect, upon having seen it when it's dark and with all of the usual makeup on, to be pale, but afterwards, it's unusually pale. So,
is there any sign of a wound? Because I have a vague recollection that Aurélie might have taken some precautions, but I can't quite remember if that's true or what they were.
Well, let's ask Orly that. Is there anyone at court who might remember that this is exactly the same way that Madame de Breville's husband died, with the exact same marks?
I suspect the young doctor is very well aware of this, and I imagine he will have been consulted on the matter as well, as I believe he is the official court physician, or a court physician anyway. So yeah, I think he will very much have noticed this, but I'm going to presume that for the time being, he's deciding to keep this one covered up as well, like he did my husband. Okay,
so maybe there are some rumors and some conjecture about how this could have happened. That the Madame was unusually pale, but certainly no one has mentioned vampires yet. Yes. But then I suppose I'm wondering also from Orly, how well is the Queen hiding her joy, or is she hiding it at all?
I think she's probably being discreet in the sense that she isn't like actively needling her husband about it, but that's about the extent of her discretion. I don't think she's making much of an effort not to. She certainly isn't making any effort to show sadness or regret or anything like that. She may affect a slightly more somber mien in her husband's company, but I don't think she's going to even make that much of an effort to do so. It doesn't strike me that she really cares all that much.
So as soon as the carriage pulls away from the front portico, the champagne is popped, is it?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Okay. Celine, what kind of neighborhood is the opera in? Well-to-do, or an old rundown part of town? What's it like in the neighborhood?
Oh, I think it's in a good neighborhood. It's in like if you imagine, I mean we could probably look up exactly where it is in Paris. I imagine it's center of town, near it's kind of like probably wherever like the civic, kind of like it's probably kitty corner to a museum to a and it's whatever, like it's kind of smack in whatever the cultural center of the city is. I would imagine. So it's it's a good neighborhood, but not a neighborhood that like royalty is going to live in. You travel to the opera, you take a trip to the opera. So
okay. And Father Jean, when you're driving through the kind of outer areas of the city, what kind of thing do you see on the street that makes you understand, maybe for the first time in weeks that you've been in Versailles, that the normal people of the city are really hurting, economically or socially?
Yes, I hadn't thought about this until I became the confessor to Liliane, the upcoming soprano. But I think I probably travel into the city once a week to help out at a church to offer confession. And I think perhaps that what I notice is even more beggars on the streets, even more people clustered in doorways. It feels like it feels as if the populace are more suppressed than they were the last time I was in the city, or that there's a tenseness in the atmosphere. Perhaps because people have heard the Queen is coming. I don't know.
Yeah. So, Orly, your senses of prey, I think, are triggered for some reason when you're passing through this neighborhood. Is this some kind of do you think this is an ambush, or is this much more mundane? This is a demonstration against the decadence of the royal family.
Yeah, I think it's more just a general demonstration. Though perhaps the actual presence of the royal carriage could push it towards an actual riot.
So, what happens if there's any kind of trouble en route? Is there a royal guard who just crack down, or what happens?
Yeah, I think there will be guardsmen who will, that they don't take it as a serious threat. These are unwashed ruffians shouting and throwing stones. That I don't think it's going to be a sort of full on. What's the word I'm looking for? It's much more. This is. I don't think they have to resort to sort of like full on violence to disperse it, but it is tense, and they do have to throw their weight around to protect the sort of royal convoy, or whatever you want to call it.
Perhaps our dashing young hussar officer takes a hand. He sees them off with merely a glimpse of French steel.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think the opera house has probably laid out a considerable amount of money to pay peasants and bit players and all this kind of stuff. The couple of the several blocks within the opera, the route there, to line the streets to wave and throw flowers at the Queen and greet her as she arrives at the opera house. And maybe maybe through some francs at some like former soldiers and stuff to make sure that nobody causes trouble for the performance.
Yeah. So there was a brief moment of discomfort for the Queen and her guards, but then it's like almost as if she is beloved by the people.
Yeah, the show starts several blocks before she walks in the door. Is basically what happens, I think. Yeah.
Some careful stage management is always key, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, is there any kind of reception, or is it just like the normal arrival, make your way to your box kind of thing? What's the pre-show entertainment or reception like?
I imagine that it's a kind of surreal enforced normalcy that you're trying to present it as, see, the Queen goes to the opera just like the rest of us, while making sure that anything a normal opera goer would find inconvenient or annoying or just part of the process affects her in any way. So again, very carefully stage managed, where but I can't, not like they clear the whole place out and she goes up to the box on her own, but there's a buffer zone where everybody knows you don't approach within 5 feet of her little group of opera goers and stuff like this. And, and there is, the usher that is going to take care of her has been, like vetted by the palace and cleared in advance and all this kind of stuff and everything. And, but yeah, like I said, kind of but it would be surreal for anybody that's there, because you're like supposed to kind of not act like there's anything weird going on, but it's so obviously there's something, like everybody knows that there's something weird going on. And I think that would, I think that it's something like that.
Okay. So I guess you're all behind stage getting ready for curtain. Who is the most nervous amongst your clique?
Oh, it's definitely Gaston.
So they're like fussing over every little braid and button and sequin.
And like curl in a wig and all of that, and like they're being way more, like they're usually a pest about that stuff, but they're like just being insufferable tonight.
How does it look? I mean, I'm gonna assume that for Gerard, he's seen all this before and he's completely unflappable. But maybe how are the more junior members like Chloe or Liliane reacting to this?
Gosh, like Liliane's not part of my troupe. So I think I literally have I literally forget that she exists sometimes. Chloe is probably Chloe's definitely like giddy, slap happy, like talking too much, like just like buzzing. And maybe, like took something, who knows, that has her like flitting around. And can't help but think Gerard is probably just a little drunk. Just enough to take the edge off,
Yeah.
Like not enough to affect his performance. He needs to be really shit-faced before anybody cares, that he flubbed a line or two. But he's definitely a little, he's got a bit of a buzz on, I think.
Well, maybe he's seen what a bad performance or a lackluster performance can do to you with a royal audience, right? He's seen people's careers go down the drain if they're not sharp.
Absolutely, sure. Yeah, I think him having been around the block a couple more times than maybe some of the others of us have. I think that's I think that's cool.
Okay.
I also kind of want him to have had like the longest climb up from the gutter, from being a like an orphan and an urchin to the role that he currently has. And so he kind of understands that he's got the most to lose if this doesn't, if it goes badly for him.
Okay. For Father Jean, let's assume that the cardinal has taken his box. Who else is in here with you, or is the cardinal of such stature as to essentially, lock down a box just for him?
I think it's unlikely it's a box to himself, because he is the Secretary of State, stroke Chancellor, whatever. So I think probably he might well be in the Queen's box,
okay,
with the favourites.
So that would put you and he in with probably Marie Antoinette and Orly.
Joey and Francesca.
Yeah, okay. Because I think Orly is definitely in her favor right now for having disposed of that awkward woman.
I think it's fair to say that Jean is distracted. He was expecting Lorenzo to be on this outing, but has learned that Lorenzo has gone off to take the waters wherever we decided he was going to take the waters. And in fact, Jean looks slightly different than he did yesterday. His beard, he's not a very precise. He's not normally exquisitely groomed, but he's better groomed than he is tonight. And it's almost as though his beard has become slightly bushier and more tangled overnight, which seems bizarre. But that's the appearance, and he is antsy, I suppose is the word I'm looking for. Because at some point, either I'm going to tell you or you're going to tell me that his darker self is in motion.
Yeah, so I think without Lorenzo being around, you have definitely lost sight of him and he you. So I think when maybe it's been simmering a while, but I think now that you're sitting in the chair in the box, it's come to its fruition, right? So I think your mood isn't helped when the cardinal excuses himself to leave to attend to some important matter. He should be back momentarily.
I'm going to follow.
Oh, okay. So are you following like on his heels as if you are his servant, or are you doing it a bit more surreptitiously?
No, I assume that he will want his secretary along.
Okay. So he will kind of notice you and say, it's okay, yeah, Father John. This isn't official business.
In which case I will stop and instead watch where he goes and then follow him.
Okay. So I think you're going to need to maybe keep your cool
so roll plus cold, yeah?
Yeah.
Which isn't great for me.
So I guess what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of losing him or being spotted or what?
I'm afraid of his disfavor, I suppose, but given my current mood, that may not matter as much as it would normally. So it's probably I'm more afraid that other people, other than the cardinal, notice me being furtive. Yeah. So that. Well, I will happily mark experience.
That's you leveling up, is it?
Not quite.
Not quite. Okay. Okay, let's leave that one hang for a while and then move on to Orly. The queen, I think, is quite animated. I think maybe she is still in possession of the leaflet, the printed leaflet, the flyer for the show, and is sharing some kind of rumor that she heard about some scene in which the leading lady, slays some, I don't know, some royal guard of a rival princess or something very exciting. What is Orly doing? Is she engaging in conversation with the queen? Is she happy to sit back and choose her moment?
Yeah, no, I think she will be engaging the queen in conversation. Yep. Yes, it shall, I am sure, be most exciting. It has been really far too long since I've been able to attend the opera.
Well, yeah, I think Lorenzo's presence in Versailles has had us spoiled. we should get out more, I think.
Indeed. The young gentleman certainly had his charms, that I will not doubt. But yes, I think a little spectacle is good for the soul.
I hear the leading man, what's his name, Gerard, is quite dashing.
Excellent. That will only add to the spectacle of the evening, I am sure.
Have you met him or spoken to him before?
I think I have. I think I may have seen him in a play before I returned to the country, but no, I do not believe I've had the pleasure.
Well, we must make sure to meet him and make his acquaintance later on, if his performance is pleasing.
I am sure he would be most honored to receive you, my lady.
So, yeah, in the backstage in your dressing room, Celine, there's a knock. And the cardinal is there.
And I turn to him and I say, and I turn and I realize that, like, I've got my opera dress on, so my décolletage is kind of there. And so I sort of, oh, forgive me, Cardinal. And I take a, I take a shawl and I kind of put it around my, around my shoulders, and I kind of cross my arms across my chest like this. And I say, forgive me, I was not expecting a visit from such an august personage. Whatever blessings you can bestow upon our performance for the Queen, I'd be most grateful.
Of course. Well, I can bless you in whatever fashion you feel is most appropriate.
And I kind of like incline my head to the side, and I say, I fear with our preparations. Fear with our preparations for the performance, I've been remiss in performing confession with the regularity that I should. These are such base surroundings from the holy places that you are used to, but I'm inspired by your presence here.
Well, perhaps something more down to earth. Maybe we will wait after your performance, and we can discuss it in private.
Whatever blessing you can provide now, I'd be most grateful. I know that you will be out there praying for me. And and what do I say? And perhaps, and I say to him, I would ask you for confession now, but I fear with the things this performance asks of me, I would only need it again at the end of the show.
Okay.
And I'm totally trying to turn him on with that.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. Okay, so let's see what we got happening there. That's like one of my favorite movie lines is, do you want confession, my son? No, father, with where I'm going, I just need to come right back. So this is, so I roll right on, roll 20, right? So I just hit, so this is hot?
Yeah, hot.
To do something, submit. No modifiers. I got a 9.
So I think on a 9, they can either give you a string or do something else. I think the cardinal will give you a string to pull later.
There we go. I will happily take that. And I will, I have my arms crossed like this, and I, do one to kind of, like make the cross, which causes, the shawl to fall a little bit off of one shoulder and stuff. And I say, I will look for you in the royal box.
Well, he gives you a nod, a very chaste nod, and exits. So Father Jean, you're following the cardinal, and he disappears around a corner in this place. Then in the backstage area is, I think, like a warren. You pass several people who look at you oddly. Maybe they assume that you're in costume, right? Because you've worn this really orthodox cassock. And you end up following a door that's just closed in front of you. And I think you end up in the kind of, not the leading ladies, but the ladies' dressing room.
And if he's moving around through backstage, I just want to say he definitely gets like propositioned at least a couple of times and several like lewd remarks and stuff. Yeah, because people think he's another actor in costume. So for sure, yeah.
Yeah. So, maybe on a regular night, you wouldn't just get propositioned. It'd be a lot more urgent than that. But everyone is a little bit nervous, So yeah, maybe someone who you don't recognize propositions you, and maybe that's what flusters you so much that you end up going through the wrong door. And there's they're not like shocked really, but they obviously know that you're not one of the troupe, and I think there's whatever the 18th century equivalent of a strippogram is kind of suggested that you are, and there's a lot of laughing and less subtle than innuendo maybe. What do you do at all this?
I think normally my reaction would be a slightly kind of awkward withdrawal. But given his current mental state, I think he comes on a bit strong. I think he points at them and he says, "And as the whore of Babylon was destroyed, so shall you be."
Okay, so do you want to shut down this dressing room?
I probably am trying to shut him down.
Yeah.
Which again is not my strength. Partial success. On a partial success, choose one from below, but I come across poorly. I'm not sure I care about that in this company. They lose a string on you. If they have no strings on you, gain one on them. They gain a condition, or you take one forward. I think I'd like to put a condition on them. Do I get to choose, or do you?
You get to choose.
I think I'd like to put unusually nervous on them.
Oh. Okay.
Jean, he's all for screwing up performance.
He's done it before to Lorenzo, right? Unusually nervous. Well, that's not going to bite anyone in the ass.
And then he'll frustrated that he has not come across the cardinal or managed to follow the cardinal, will return to the corridor behind the royal box and wait for the cardinal.
Well, as soon as you turn around, I think that's when you see the cardinal, and he's behind you and basically on the way back to the box, but he sees you walking out of this room of half-dressed ladies and just gives you a look and tuts at you, And I think the condition from your shutdown will be of something like dubious morals.
So I'm already gauche and unsophisticated. I now have dubious morals.
Yeah.
This is all coming together very neatly. I will hurry after him because I dare say I can keep up with him. And as we head up back to the box, the performance must be beginning to start, mustn't it?
Maybe there's an overture or something just to get people to their seats.
So is there much activity on the corridor behind the boxes?
I think most people are probably seated, but maybe there's a few people following the noise of the overture to take their seats.
Okay, I'll follow him back into the royal box.
Okay. Back in the royal box, Orly. I'm wondering, or you've obviously relatively recently feasted on the Madame de Breville's blood, but between Francesca and Zoe, are they tempting you as well, or do you think you are completely sated?
Let's see. I think I'm probably open to temptation, put it that way. So yeah, I think I'm possibly just not I'm possibly just like when talking to one of them, possibly leaning in slightly closer than absolutely necessary, just to get their scent. But yeah.
So I think maybe the reserve that the ladies exhibit when the cardinal and the father are around has kind of dropped. Certainly for Zoe, he's probably the least senior or important person here. She seems completely oblivious to your secret. What is it about her that strikes you as particularly innocent?
I think that it's the way, as you say, she is sort of like the least she's the sort of most junior person here, and she's kind of not like overly familiar. She's not like crossing the bounds of propriety. She's obviously been well educated, but it's the way she engages with people, and it's almost like she thinks everyone here is sort of her equal in some ways, when that's obviously not the case. And I think that's sweet.
Sweet being an obvious synonym for tasty, right? Okay. So yeah, I think the Cardinal and Father Jean return just in time for the curtain to raise. I'm thinking maybe Celine wants to kind of describe a high point in her performance. And I think maybe you're rolling to turn on Her Majesty.
I am not like, that seems like that's too far.
Okay.
I feel like what I'm trying to do is just keep my cool and get through this.
Okay. Yeah.
like turning the queen on, trying to turn the queen on is a roll of the, trying to turn the queen on publicly is like too audacious even for me.
Okay, yeah. So not swinging for the fences.
Now, if she comes to visit me in my dressing room afterwards, all bets are off. But like on stage, like up in front of everybody, just like this and stuff. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna risk the, you know, the thing that might happen if I blow that.
Okay.
So yeah. So I think that the, you know, the it's a, like I think it's a comic opera, and so the I think like the high point is my number where I do a thing where, like, through the course of the opera, kind of Shakespeare comedy style, I have played, you know, like I pretended to be a chambermaid, and I pretended to be, you know, it's Austria. I pretended to be like a, you know, like a Bierfrau, and I pretended to be a nurse, and I pretended to be, you know, like kind of in a succession of scenes as this was called for. And so there's this bravura number where I have like 6 costume changes, like fast costume changes when I walk behind a set piece, you know, and they like throw a different wig on me, and I come out and I have to sing in 6 different registers and kind of slightly different comic styles throughout the song. So it's like, it's basically like the big medley number that kind of brings all of my things together. And this is like my, like, and this is also a thing where, like, the other thing I think is like this number is like work. So this is not a thing where I can be flirty. Like, it's got to go off technically perfectly. So I think this is like this is like the thing that everyone's going to be talking about afterwards if it goes off the way that it's supposed to.
Okay, so is your fear that you won't quite have this as seamless as it should be, or is it something kind of more?
Yeah, I think it's that like the fear I have is that not that I will screw it up, but that they won't get it. I'm not worried about my ability to pull it off, but like them being able, like this is a technically complicated thing. There's a lot going on. The audience actually being able to follow it and understand what we're doing rather than just getting lost is the thing that I'm worried about.
Okay, cool. So why don't you roll to keep your cool?
Keep my cool here. So let's see. We've got, I'm gonna roll with cold. No modifiers. Bam, and that's my 7 and 9, which is right where I hoped that would land, because it's more fun that way. So how would my actions leave me vulnerable, and do I back down or go through with it?
Let me think. Yeah, I think maybe in this scene, there's something. You have to rely on someone you'd prefer not to rely on. You have to kind of give them a boost to raise their profile. So I guess is this your kind of bet more of the future Liliane getting a part that she had understudied for or something?
Oh, I think it's I think like, yeah, there's some kind of a technical difficulty that the only way to do it is the only way to have the song go off exactly the way that it's supposed to is the signal that I give Liliane and she belts out a verse of it. Because whatever, like, you know, some bit of my costume snags and I can't make it out. So we got to send Liliane out to like do the turn around and sing the thing, and then I come back out again. And I think totally, yeah, we can't fuck this up. So I let her take that turn.
Okay, and up in the box, earlier we had said like that the blocks had been moved, right, to be pointing directly at the royal box, right? So this kind of stuff should be masked. I'm wondering though, is there something that gives it away? Like, how do you spot that Celine is not doing the fourth of these 6 quick change parts, Father Jean?
That I am loud and belty, but I can't do the the quick trilly thing with my voice that she can. So she doesn't have my range, and she can only hold a note like half as long as I can, but she can do that like songbird thing, the like the Mariah Carey like tweedle your voice in the middle of a note kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah.
And she lays some of that in, and it's like very obviously, where I would like do a like long, loud, powerful kind of thing like this. She's a lot more playful when she does it, and it's just like the stylistic difference is easy to recognize.
And I think Father Jean will just whisper in the Cardinal's ear, "She's the coming thing."
Yeah. Okay.
So, Father John, have you been like the fact that you recognize this particular style of Liliane's as opposed to Celine's? Have you like been to a private recital or some kind of?
I felt more that it wasn't necessarily just the noise, the sound of her voice, but I think probably because of that change in the set and the angle, I notice that it's not Celine but Liliane doing that turn, either coming out and doing the whole shtick, or if she's singing off stage to fill the gap, we maybe see into the wings. So I think it's less the voice and more that I recognize her.
Okay. So yeah, the Cardinal is a little bit put out by this, or maybe a bit confused.
Well, I'll go a little bit further perhaps and say I am her confessor.
Are you trying to put the Cardinal on edge, or are you just trying to create some kind of an influence with him?
I think I'm trying to create some influence and perhaps shifting his interest towards Liliane. Or to, because I don't necessarily know where he went backstage, so I don't know his interest in Celine, but I suppose I am trying to interest him in Liliane.
Well, you could give him an introduction, I guess, as the
yeah, because I don't think, because turn someone on doesn't work in terms of turning him onto her, does it?
No.
Do you have a string on him that you could use to do that?
No,
Oh,
sadly
okay.
not.
But if you're, I mean, you're kind of, you could shut him down in order to gain a string on him, right? You're rattling his cage a little bit, surprising him with some, unforeseen power that you have. I think.
Yes,
yeah, totally shut down his enjoyment of the show.
I think I might be inclined then, because of my current kind of slightly unstable position, to go so far as to say, Mother Church smiles more favorably on a priest in pursuit of a woman than a priest in pursuit of a man, which I'm seeking to imply I know something about his fling with Lorenzo.
Okay, yeah. Let's
go for it.
Yeah, let's see that roll. Ouch. Uh, okay. So that's very interesting.
That is my experience, but we'll come to that in a bit.
Yeah, yeah. For orally, I guess I'm wondering how much of this conversation do you overhear?
Probably not all of it, but I think when I see the two of when I sort of catch out of the corner of my eye, the two of them whispering together, I think I probably will sort of sit back in my seat a little bit, get out the fan, and just discreetly eavesdrop.
And I think you understand all too well what Father Jean was trying to intimate. That he knows something, but I think you are also all too aware of his particular inclinations with Lorenzo. They're both men's faces are readable like a book to you, I think, in this situation.
Excellent.
I'm just looking at the time. We're coming up to the hour. How about we take a quick break and be back at 5 past? Does that suit? Okay, cool. We'll see you guys back here then. you thinking of something particular for your advance based on your brilliant rolling?
Yeah, at the minute, I'm wondering about the logic of extending the kind of wild hunt feral manner in a way that that would allow me to take the vampire move hypnotic.
I have found in playing Monsterhearts that it's a best practice to try to steer clear of moves from other playbooks that are in play by other players.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just about to not quite echo Jim, but
Yeah,
say,
I mean,
if we talk to David and he doesn't mind, you.
Yeah, that's not a hard and fast rule, but
Yeah.
but I have found that like leaves options open for other players in ways that
Okay, then I'll simply increase volatile by 1, which takes it to a whole 0.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we have that. I guess we have the high point of the performance from Celine and the little bit of kind of jiggery pokery to make it all run well, even if it gives a little bit more spotlight to Lillian than she would like. But yeah, everyone is, even the Queen, or maybe especially the Queen, is laughing uproariously at every deft comic touch. She finds everyone's Austrian accents absolutely hilarious in the best / worst comic traditions. Maybe even people can have gone a little bit far. They're nervous and maybe they're falling back on some things they did in previous performances. But I think based on everyone's based on the rule to keep your cool, it's all taken in pretty good form, right?
Yeah, it was a hit. So it was a hit, which means it was a hit.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there's an after show. I'm wondering from Orly, is there any, after the kind of glow of that performance, is there anything that the Queen says to you that makes you realize that some of that stuff was maybe steering a bit too close, to maybe making fun of her own Austrian accented French or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think she may be. I think that there's like one particular point where you can kind of see that the sort of smile she's got on her face just sort of freezes for a moment, and it's only a moment, but it's definitely there.
And is this highlighting some piece of popular kind of imagining of her, or some kind of scurrilous rumor, or some kind of just some stereotype?
Yeah, I think it's actually I think it's some sort of one of those like little jokes that kind of got left in, and maybe in retrospect like they might have changed if they thought, but it was just a very sort of slight throwaway joke, something about like Austrian women being like cold in bed or something like that, and that just really gets to her.
So Yeah. So from Father Jean, is there some piece of special knowledge from the cardinal that you know that this might be true, that maybe the king and queen haven't consummated their marriage or have generally been very cold towards each other in the marriage bed?
I think probably the fact that the king has several mistresses is my guess. We know his favorite was Madame de Breville, but we've not gone any further than that. So I have a suspicion that they go through the motions, so to speak. The objective being to provide an heir, but that the king's real emotion is focused elsewhere.
And Celine, what's the gossip around the theater about who that other mistress might be?
Would it be outrageous for the gossip to be that it's Aurelie? And that's why she got brought back?
That would be really scandalous,
That she was in the countryside because she got sent away, but then the king insisted that she return to court.
Okay.
No. But we're not in court, so we only get all this stuff secondhand. So
yeah, absolutely. Or maybe from Florent, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it totally comes from Florent, who's got a big fucking mouth. Yeah. 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 And I think we're all pretty clear on the idea that he probably only about a third of what he says has any sort of veracity at all. And like another third of it is boasting, and another third of it is he's too dumb to actually understand what's going on. But the fact that the rumor that Aurelie is is one of the king's mistresses, which kind of explains that business with her husband and all of that stuff, that kind of, okay.
So is it it's, I guess, super ironic that the queen is here with Aurelie being BFFs, right?
Oh no, that's like part of that's just the way it works in court.
Okay. Keep your enemies closer, right?
Yeah, and like projecting confidence, and like we know all about acting. That's not, So yeah.
So post show, then there has to be some kind of it's not a rap party, obviously, because
so let me can I maybe add a wrinkle to it? So
go.
Maybe we think that Aurelie is Louis' mistress that Marie approves of. That like she's the like mistress that is all right, and that's why like that there's an arrangement there.
I'm sure there's lots of hearsay and conjecture about why this might be the case, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and we're all like bohemian and stuff like that, so it's like, well, of course, they've come to an agreement, and that's why this is set up that way.
And I want to go down that rabbit hole a little bit further, because there's, for Gerard, who has been in the company for quite a while, I think he says something like, well, the Countess looks pretty much like, I mean, as useful as she did 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You should find out what her secret is. Not that I'm suggesting anything.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Is this like an actual conversation that's going on?
Oh, yeah. I guess this is
all
kind
right.
of an offhand comment.
And I say, well, she is, she's fortunate to have the favor of the king, and if the arrangement is what we say it is, if her arrangement is as we've speculated it is, then all of Marie's various handmaidens will be giving her the same treatment. So when you have the queen's boudoir to dress in, you're going to look youthful beyond your years.
Sure, yeah.
But she likes boys, and you like girls. So maybe you can find out.
Direct from the queen?
No, idiot. From Oriel.
Oh, okay.
Just give her that look that you use the one look that you can use just to make us all pregnant just by looking at us. Just give her one of those.
Celine, I don't know what you mean. And he gives you that look.
Yes, of course, yes. And I cock my head and so perhaps if I'll let it be known you're interested.
Oh, look, here's the nosy priest. So I guess there's the kind of gathering, kind of refreshment reception area.
Yeah, like a reception kind of thing with the queen holding court, and we're all kind of sort of milling around in the shoals of her kind of whatever her gravity well. So yeah.
So be careful, Celine, or he will. What did the girl say? He said he called you all whores of Babylon. That's exciting.
Oh, I'm sure he did. I find it is the ones that protest the most that have the least to complain about when all is said and done.
The holiest of men are the ones quickest to raise their skirts.
That's Jean, right?
Yeah.
Is he the one that had? Is he the one?
Who Lorenzo is fond of?
Yes. They chased each other through the maze at the palace. I heard.
Who wouldn't want to know how that hunt finished?
Intriguing. Well, perhaps. I mean, this is not usually the way that it works, but perhaps one of us could get him to confess.
I think your odds are much better than mine, although maybe not. But I'll be busy with Orly, so you'll have to take the priest.
I will. The things I do for art.
So, yeah, I think Father Jean is well aware that the company of players are talking about him. Maybe you hear the phrase "whore of Babylon" floating over the hubbub of conversation.
Jean was actually hoping to cash in a promise tonight. Francesca de May, would-be favourite to the Queen, had promised him to arrange an audience with the Queen, and he is still slightly smarting under the reaction that he got when he misbehaved at the outdoor recital. So he'd quite like to get back on the right side of the Queen.
So, are you maybe going to remind Francesca that of her promise and give her a chance to deliver? Because
I'm assuming a kind of buffet with wine and people moving about. It's all terribly informal, relatively speaking. The players have been invited. But yes, I think that he will seek out Francesca and say, do you remember you promised me an audience with the Queen? I want you to arrange that now. And there's a glint in his eye, which is not a glint that you want to say no to.
Of course, Father. I think in all of the terrible tragedy of Madame de Breville's passing, I had forgotten. Let me rectify that for you. I think we can arrange for you and the Queen to for some privacy. Let's imagine it's some kind of confession. So
when?
Anon, right? Give me a moment. So she kind of thinks to herself and goes off to entreat the Queen to do her a favor. I think maybe Orly is with Her Majesty right now. Maybe there's like a settling down period before, either the company or the Queen would make give a few words in honor of the occasion. But you're talking with the Queen in the meantime. What seems to be on her mind?
I think her mood has improved a little. Not improved, but I think she's kind of returned to her somewhat, her happier mood from earlier, and the the slight upset during the play has maybe not been forgotten, but certainly passed from the forefront of her mind. And I think she's just sort of. I think she is maybe commenting on sort of the bits of the play she did enjoy, and she's making general small talk, really, I think.
So when Francesca kind of appears to in your little circle, she seems to be a little bit more urgent than usual. She's obviously looking to make a request, to break up that easy conversation with something concrete. Do you give her the space in the conversation to do that, or are you monopolizing Her Majesty?
No, I think I will be magnanimous. I think I'll if I will not exactly turn my attention away from the Queen, because one does not do that, but I will kind of glance over to her and say, young Francesca, isn't it? Was there something you needed?
Oh, thank you, Countess. I was hoping to relay a request to Her Majesty from young Father Jean. I think he seems in need of some spiritual guidance that he feels that only Your Majesty could provide. It seems very unusual, but he is young and he seems to be, I guess, under some pressure from the expectations of the Cardinal. I think Your Majesty could give us some kind of succor to lay his mind at ease.
Would certainly explain his behavior.
What have you seen from him that I haven't?
Nothing wholly untoward. I'm sure the Queen would be quite safe with him, though.
Well, we hardly need a chaperone. You know, he is a priest after all. So yeah, I think Marie Antoinette seems to take this rather agreeably, and yeah, I think her minder is clear, or make sure that a box nearby or a well-appointed sitting room are safe for her, and then they probably grab Father Jean politely and tell him that Her Majesty awaits his presence.
Father Jean, I think, again, because he's not quite himself, doesn't nod as politely as he might normally, but simply follows them to the room where he's ushered in, I guess. And he immediately falls to his knees before Her Majesty.
Okay, let's, I think, cut back to the company before we get to Her Majesty. So yeah, Her Majesty was there talking with her close friends for a minute, and then she's whisked away for some meeting with that obviously with the priest. Do we think we can get a scene of orally?
This is me totally. I'm gonna use this opportunity of the Queen being whisked away to introduce orally to Gerard.
Yeah. Okay. So how does that go?
I think I just Gerard and I are like kind of hooked arm in arm, and like I've got a glass of champagne and he has the bottle, and he occasionally pours a little, and he's like, he can get away with drinking champagne right out of the bottle, like, because he's a fucking rock star, right? At this fancy society party. And we are like just kind of laughing. I am like to the point of almost to the point of tears. And he is, kind of chuckling that deep bass, kind of rumbling laughter that he has. And it's one of those things where we kind of like almost blunder into her. It's not like we're walking up clearly with the intent of, like a society introduction kind of thing, but we just like turn a corner and we're laughing. Oh, Countess!
Ah, Mademoiselle, Monsieur, your performances this evening were most delightful.
Oh, thank you. It was, I imagine that you must be terribly grateful to be back in civilization again.
Quite so. I obviously, the loss of my poor husband was a great personal blow, but I have recovered, and it is pleasant to be amongst joyful company once more.
And I kind of lower my voice and I kind of put a hand on your shoulder and I say, as someone who has lived through the loss of numerous paramours, both accidental and through circumstances both accidental and planned, I must say that the best approach is to put yourself back into society. I am sure that your late husband, God rest his soul, I say to Gerard, who dutifully says, God rest his soul. I'm sure that your late husband would not have wanted you cloistered away when the delights of Paris are before us. Forgive me. There is such a glow about you from having returned, and that Gerard noticed you from the stage and insisted that I introduced you. He is normally not. He's normally more forward, but given the current state of affairs and the recent passing of your husband, we didn't wish to be too. He did not wish to be too forward, but I assured him that I would make the appropriate introductions.
I thank you for taking note of the propriety of the situation. That's the most kind of you. And yes, thank you for. I feel the country air has been good for me, though. It is, as I say, good to be back in the city.
And I nod and I say, and whomever your tailor is, this is magnificent. And I kind of do that thing where like I reach out and like I'm looking at the cut of your dress there, and I kind of like tug a little bit at like the fabric at the top of your shoulders and kind of, oh yes, oh this is nice. I will. Why does Gaston not know how to do this? I say to Gerard. And I say, but forgive me. Are you partaking of champagne?
I will have a little. Yes, and
I just like snap my fingers imperiously, and
yeah. Oh. So Gerard says, "Let me top you up, my lady," and then he remembers the champagne.
Yes, and I hand her a glass, and I say, "Oh, but forgive me. There are so many admirers that I have to fend off. But I did want to make sure that I had made this introduction. I have, and I kind of lean in and I say quietly, I have seen to it that all of Gerard's obligations have been performed, and I don't expect to see him for the rest of the evening. Condolences on your husband." And I'm trying to turn her on with all of this,
that's
and offering one of my clique in the process. So we've got I'm rolling with hot. Boop. Oh, I got that thing where my submit, and I've got a +2 modifier. Boom, there's my 10.
Cool. And I will not say, thank you, mademoiselle. It is good to see Gerard again. I swear last time I saw him, he was scarcely more than a boy, and he has grown into quite a fine young man.
I'm going to get a string on you, and what is the reaction that you're choosing out of the 3 there?
I think the reaction I'm going to go for actually is to promise something. And I think in this case it will. Well, I suppose it's sort of more directed to Gerard at this point, but I will turn to him and say, I should very much like to have a more discreet conversation outside the bounds of this party. I would not wish to cause a scene here, you understand. I am sure I can make the time worth your while.
Perhaps I can offer you a tour of my changing room.
That would be most delightful. Perhaps if you could proceed there shortly, and I will follow anon. And then she will lean in a little closer, sort of fanning herself, and say, "Please do dim the lights."
Okay, cool. So, and you know, like I'll hear enough of that I can then just kind of cock my head, grin coquettishly, and swirl back into the crowd. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, so let's go back to Father Jean's private audience or confessional with the Queen.
Jean, as I say, prostrates himself before the Queen, and says, without looking at her, "Your Royal Majesty, I offended etiquette at the soiree last week, and I wanted to offer you my profound apologies."
Father John, I don't understand. You appeared late, I suppose, but I only assumed that you had other duties, holy duties, that kept you from us.
At which point I'll get up onto my knees and look her in the eye. "Your Royal Majesty, my duties are indeed onerous, but I feel that my place in God's view would be complete if I was your confessor." And I gaze into her eyes, and I am emoting as much of the Wild Hunt as I can channel. "Your Majesty, life in power is difficult. Everyone in a position has a position to hold, and you are among the greatest in the land. There is only one above you, His Royal Majesty. Sometimes allowing someone from far below you to offer you God's word and hear your confession is a relief. And I will admit, Your Royal Majesty, that simply basking in the light of your presence is profoundly rewarding."
So, do you want to make that roll? I'm presuming you're trying to turn her on, right? With your feral, direct nature.
And I'm completely unashamed about it, because I put in the text. I backed off on the increased volatile. I've gone for the unashamed Fey move.
Okay.
So I'm throwing it all in her way. So on that basis, roll with hot. But I'm working with +1 for Wild Hunt and +3 for Unashamed. Now, the last time I tried to do this, I ended up with a number that couldn't exist. So let's just.
So I know. Okay.
Yeah, the trick is not to put the plus in, I think.
Okay, maybe that was what was called. We can always see what you roll anyway if you mouse over the result. But that's
so that's an 11.
Yeah.
Now I give her a string on me because of the Unashamed.
Yeah.
But I get a string on the Queen. And they choose one of the reactions below. They give themselves to me, they promise me something that they think I want, or they get embarrassed and act awkward.
So yeah, I think she is overcome with this, absolute sincerity that she sees in your eyes, that she should abandon the cardinal, your master, as her confessor, and take you on instead. And she promises to do something that you want. So basically, she is making you a promise that she will make you her confessor.
I think I'll settle for that. What I'm not sure mechanically, you'll have to help me. I don't know what happens about the condition gauche and unsophisticated, because I thought I defended her at that soiree.
Well, usually, if there's a condition that would affect you in some way, we could apply a -1. But that would bring you down from 11 to 10. So, even, and I think in some ways, because you're being so direct, we could apply for sure one of those, right? Gauche or or such, but that won't knock you down to a 7 to 9.
Do conditions ever act in your advantage?
Not usually. There is, I think there's a move from a playbook. I can't remember what. Maybe it's from maybe it's the Fomorian or something like that. That allows you to use all of your conditions to give you a bonus if they apply, but it's quite rare. Usually they're bad things, right? If they apply at all,
It's their leverage other people can use on you.
Well, then I think that I'm happy to close the scene out there, Donna, unless you want something else.
Yeah, I think I guess the last thing for you to think about is who's going to break the news to the Cardinal.
Would the Queen like me to do it?
Hey, speaking of the Cardinal.
Obviously.
Plans for the Cardinal.
Yeah. I'll go and look for him, Your Majesty.
Yeah, I think it might be interesting to see where you could find him, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, let's maybe follow Celine to see if we can see her and the Cardinal hook up.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, it's this is like the reception is happening downstairs. This is totally going to happen in the royal box, like on the Queen's chair.
Okay. That's like, a subtle form of lèse-majesté that I hadn't considered before.
Subtle. That's me. I'm all about the thinly, the thickly veiled, vaguely obscure references that no one is going to get. So yeah. So I like kind of going around. I kind of find the Cardinal and kind of do the like walk and talk thing that finds us in front of the royal box. And then, and of course I have the key because, like it's whatever, it's my theater.
How would you not have the key? Right?
Exactly. And I let us in and I close it and I talk about how, perhaps I saw you from the stage sitting in your seat right here, and I kind of guide him to sit it down in it. And I'm talking to him, and then I kind of end up just sitting on the chair, on the Queen's chair next to him. We talk about how the confession and how and I profess that I found myself thinking about how we would be meeting and how our souls would speak to each other, and I had hoped that my music, that he saw something of my true soul in my music, and now we are here, and these things I have to confess, I'm ashamed to say them, so perhaps. And I feel like showing you is the only way that I can get across what. So I'm going to spend my string on him. You can spend a side character string. Oh nope, that's you. When you spend a string on someone, choose one. Tempt them to do what you want, which is bang me in the royal box here.
So I think maybe before you kind of pull that string, there'll be kind of one moment of doubt when he's hearing you describe your performance, and he mentions Liliane, that other girl who stepped in for you at that moment. How does that make you feel?
You know what? I think that is that is literally a drowning man grasping at whatever will keep him above water. And I like that doesn't even like it maybe annoys me a little, but I just bat it aside. Like it's not gonna like this is not the time for me to get jealous or or diss her or anything like that. But it's just like and when I say something to the effect of yes, for a moment I was so struck by I was so struck by the attention, your attention upon me, that I lost my voice for just a moment. And she stepped in, but then I was able to compose myself because I knew you would want me to continue.
Well, I suppose we all lose our faculties sometimes in the eyes of God in the pursuit of perfection.
Yeah, and so if my spending a string is enough to get him to,
yeah, I don't think he needs
cool.
any real
all right, and so
persuasion on top of that.
Yeah, the cool thing about that is when I have sex with someone, they gain the condition, one of them. While the condition remains, they count as part of my gang. So I don't have a string on him anymore, but he is now part of my gang until something fictionally happens to change that.
Yeah, so I guess when you're in the presence of your troop or your clique, you have some kind of advantage.
Well, if the circumstance warrants and I can bring them in on whatever I'm doing, I get basically it's like a +1 forward.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, let's.
And I am perfectly happy with Father Jean like walking up just as we are like walking out of the box, and I'm straightening my dress and wiping off my chin and whatever. That's.
Yeah. Let's see about that. Yeah. Yeah, let's go to Orly and who is arriving at Gerard's dressing room.
I actually wanted to step back a little first.
Okay.
So I want to do as Father Jean is leaving the Queen's room. I'm going to slip in before she leaves as well, so I can speak to the Queen briefly in private.
Sure. Yeah.
I will curtsy and say, Your Majesty, I have arranged a little entertainment for you. It would, however, be for the best if we make something of a game of it, if I am not too bold.
Of course.
Yes, it would be for the best if you went without your full escort. If we switched clothes, perhaps. It's all very theatrical.
Is mechanically this is a little bit dubious, and I just want to see what Celine
I am
thinks,
going to offer her a string to go along with this.
Okay.
I have a string on her, so and yeah, basically the plan is we'll do the whole switching clothes thing, ignoring the practicalities of what that would actually involve in this time, but and send her to meet with Gerard.
Okay. Is that all right with you, Celine, given that this was the outcome of your turn someone on roll?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. This is perfect. Okay. This is awesome. Cool. This is such an opera thing right now. Yeah. I absolutely love it. No, I just absolutely props to David for this. This is super.
That's why I went for the I promise I'll make it worth your while rather than actually giving myself to
and also mirrors what I just did with the Cardinal. So perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so you're spending a string to get her to go along, and yeah, she's never done anything like this before. She'll tell you, and I think she excitedly gets into your dress. Yeah, we're ignoring the mechanics of late 18th century formal wear.
Gaston makes it happen.
Yeah. There's some quick smash cuts. There's a dressing montage. So yeah, I think. Well, there's two NPCs involved in the scene, so we're not going to play through that.
Yeah.
Um,
the last thing I will do before, so at the end of this, is once the Queen has left, I will just call through my best impersonation of the Queen and say, do send. I'm losing her name. Where are we? Do send Zoe in to attend to me, please.
okay.
But that's I'm happy to go back to the other scene then.
Okay, cool. So, Father Jean, you are seeking the Cardinal. I guess we could have you find the Cardinal in.
I think I'd quite like to follow directions to where the Cardinal went, and listen at the door of the royal box.
I would very much prefer that you don't have actual evidence, story-wise.
Okay,
I mean,
fine. So,
like it's super obvious what we did, but you didn't actually. But like, so that like I feel like that's a little too on the nose.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So I'm walking along the corridor behind the box, thinking that people said he went along this corridor, and then the two of you come out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm whatever. I'm probably like literally actually giggling.
And I'll simply stand and look, waiting to see what the Cardinal does.
So yeah, he has a wry smile on his face. He's obviously not giggling, but who knows? Maybe moments ago he was. Father Jean, I realized that I had left something behind in the box, and I had to get the redoubtable performer here, Celine, to open the box for me. For quite unusually, or maybe not unusually at all, the royal box is kept under lock and key.
And I kind of cock my head and I look at him and I say, "It was my pleasure to open the box for you, Cardinal. You were just in the box. Are you sure you didn't leave anything there now?" No. I think we made sure that you didn't leave anything in the box.
Of course. Once was enough for tonight, maybe.
Yes. Well, the box will need to be cleaned before anybody else goes in there. So, Father Jean,
Mistress Celine, I need a word in private with the Cardinal, if you would excuse us.
And I just sort of look at him and I say, "Forgive me, Cardinal, I've not actually met Father John. I've heard a great deal about him from Lorenzo, but have not had the pleasure of making his acquaintance. Perhaps you could introduce us."
Of course. I understand he and Lorenzo are fast friends. They share all kinds of interests.
Lorenzo has many friends, my Lord Cardinal. I take a bow to the Lady Celine. Now that word in private, sir?
Oh, yes. Forgive me. Navigating these relationships can be such a maze, can't it? And so I'm trying to shut him down with that, with my clear knowledge of with what happened there. So so shut someone down. can I leverage his condition for this?
Dubious morals.
That fits, I think, right?
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm rolling at so my cold is +1. And do I, you know what? I don't think it makes sense. Like the Cardinal hasn't really spoken up, so I don't think necessarily that I get my bonus for that.
No, if you don't think
it doesn't matter. It would put it to it would put it from an 8 to a 9, so it's at an 8.
Okay, so when you shut someone down,
choose one from below, but you come across poorly, and they give you a condition in return.
I have a condition in mind.
Oh yeah. Fire away, because I
enemy
get it.
of the church.
All right. Enemy of the church. All right. Oh wait, no, add the real condition. And I am going to do you have any strings on me?
No. Oh yeah. Hang on.
Sure do.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, you're gonna lose.
I'm your enemy.
You're gonna lose that string, Father. Yeah. That's my I don't give a shit what you think moment. I think so. Yeah. So
perfect.
I'm gonna yank that string, and then I curtsy and leave the two of them to talk.
And so I think before you even start speaking, Father Jean, the Cardinal looks at you and he kind of raises himself up to his full height and says, "Can I bring you anywhere, Father Jean, without you poking your nose where it doesn't belong?"
I'm sorry, sir.
Was there some matter of state that needed my attention?
I did. Would you step into the royal box?
I think we'll stay here.
Has Celine gone? Or is she
is
within earshot?
No, I mean, your conversation is private. Let me rephrase. Unless you want me to overhear, in which case I'm happy to do that. But it's not. I have no compelling interest in overhearing what you've got going on, unless you think it would be more fun and interesting to have that be the case.
I think it's more fun and interesting if you overhear it.
All right. Then I just go around the corner and kind of wait there, fanning myself as I kind of listen to your conversation.
And I
casual, but not too casual, yeah.
Fan casual, I think.
Yeah.
I look into the Cardinal's eyes and I put my hands either side of his face and I kiss him full on the lips. This is why I follow you, my lord.
And he shakes his head and puts his hand on your shoulder and starts to push you down. You have to kiss the ring, boy.
Well then, one will kiss the ring.
So are you shutting him down or are you turning him on? I'm not quite.
I'm turning him on.
Okay.
Entirely unashamedly.
Okay. So let's see a roll on that.
Okay, so it's that, and again +4. 13.
Nice. So you get a string on him, and he gets one on you for the unashamed, right? And I think I think he's a bit awkward. But he will just say, "What is it that you want, Father Jean? I didn't come here to play games, not with you at least."
I look up into his eyes and I say, "I simply wanted you to know that I, in future, will be taking the Queen's confession, get to my feet and walk away."
Okay, so I guess he is giving you that, right? That's what's happening.
I actually wanted him to be stuck with awkward in my presence, actually. Because I'm trying to work out the darker self. You escape your darker self, you must in some way rebalance the scales of justice. And since the chance of pushing him off the balcony of the royal box is now small, I'll settle for psychological damage.
Okay. Well, you've certainly gotten under his skin, right? With your approach, and maybe him not being the confessor of Her Majesty is kind of a blow to his reputation. He won't really be able to push you around quite as much as he was able to before.
I'll settle for that.
Okay, yeah.
Do you think that that's enough to get the darker self put back in its box?
Maybe. I think, yeah. I mean, pushing him off if I knew that's where you were going, I might have, I might have been quite happy with that one. But I think we'll settle for this kind of metaphorical resetting of the scales. Okay. And let's cut to our fake Marie Antoinette in Orly, in that room as the naive Zoe Talon arrives to speak to her. How are you? Obviously, when she enters and sees you, would she know it's not you? Are you positioning yourself to catch her by surprise, or what's the setup?
I think I'm kind of draped across a chaise longue. I think probably as she comes in, especially because she'll be doing the whole that maneuver where you have to both kind of curtsy and look down and also close the door behind you, sort of thing. So I think there's a moment where she actually does think it is Marie Antoinette, but I don't think she isn't fooled by the disguise. It's just it's just that sort of moment of like realization that I'm not her, sort of thing.
And she kind of says, "Oh," in surprise as she realizes it's you, and then she, they told her the Queen is in here, and that she sees that you're wearing Marie Antoinette's dress, and then she kind of looks really confused, and she's like, "What are you doing, Orly?"
Shouldn't all women be a queen for a day?
That's like treasonous.
Not really.
I wouldn't dare say anything like that.
Well, then maybe you should be a little more daring in the future. I am performing a duty for Her Majesty, so it is quite within the bounds of respectability. Come sit with me.
So she kind of looks dubious, but she kind of perches herself on the side of the chaise longue.
Cool. And she'll sort of reach over and take her sort of under the chin and turn her face towards her and say, "You're a pretty little thing. You're still young and sweet. I think you definitely have a future in the court. I want to help you become more." and lean in a little closer and say, obviously we must find you a suitable husband first. Have you your eye on anyone?
Well, I mean, Francesca has been mentoring me, so I wouldn't like to get involved in some kind of a dispute.
Oh, trust me, there will be no need for such a thing. I merely wish to offer my help as well. We obviously both see the potential in you, and I'm going to get closer. And I'm sort of going to go for sort of the turn on here, if that's okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, she starts to kind of explain who has caught her eye at court, but when you sidle ever closer, I think she kind of loses her train of thought. So let's see your roll.
That's my code sheet, right?
Okay, nice.
Cool. Yep, so I'll gain a string. Oops, when I'm in the right tab anyway.
Yeah, so you get a string, and I think, I mean, she doesn't know you're a vampire, so she doesn't even imagine that that's what you want. So, yeah, I think she is thinking that you want some kind of sexual favor. So
Yep.
she's gonna lean over to kiss you. And I think she says, "Let's help you out of this dress before Her Majesty returns."
That's a very sensible thought of you, my dear lady. Show more of that initiative and you'll go far. And I suppose it doesn't actually matter which way around it goes. So, yeah, I think at some point during proceedings, I will feed on her. I figure I'd probably have to offer her a string to get that to happen. And I'd also lose my string on her if we did actually have sex. So I think it's kind of so I think in that thing, I think we probably do. I think we probably do actually, yeah. We do engage in we do have sex sort of on the shows long, and I feed on her while we do so.
So, in terms of the feeding, like how do you, fictionally speaking, at least, how do you, convince her to let you do that, or how does she respond to your suggestion, even if she goes along with it?
Yeah, so I think I'm kind of going to do the sort of thing of saying something along the lines of I have slightly unusual tastes. I hope you do not mind if I indulge myself a little. I promise you it won't hurt for long. I've been told it's quite enjoyable.
So, yeah, I think she is kind of aware that this is the price of your patronage, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
she consents.
Yeah. Cool.
And there's I think a moment of panic just after it starts that you see her realize what really happened to Madame de Reville that night.
Excellent. Cool. So just double check the feed move.
So you have 3 options there.
Yeah,
and you pick 2.
Right. So I'm going to choose. I will take one forward, and they definitely don't die.
Okay. So I think it's interesting that Celine, overhearing the conversation between the Cardinal and Father Jean, be in a position to notice the Queen return to her room.
Okay.
And you obviously notice that she is in Orly's dress.
Okay. Man. Wow. So, okay. So I see this, and where are we? So we're like seeing her go, like the Queen's room, or you know what? It doesn't matter. But like she's by herself. Like she doesn't have her whole retinue with her.
Yeah, she's by herself, which is
Got
odd, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I say, Countess. Ah, there you are. And I just walk right up to her.
The other thing, which is kind of meaningful and that we should call out, right, is that your sex move triggers whenever any of your clique have sex with someone.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, so that means the Queen is now in your clique as well, right?
Oh, holy shit! Who did she bang? I completely.
Yeah, she was with Gerard.
The Queen was with Gerard. Holy shit! Okay, yeah, no, like I completely missed that. Sorry, I was not paying proper enough attention to follow all the switcheroos there. Okay, all right. So she is now. I had thought so. I even put Orly down on my sheet. So Orly, you did not get together with Gerard. There we go.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope. I completely. Sorry. That's me not. That's me missing that as a player. All right. Okay. So I come up to her and say, oh, okay, no. So I don't have a string on her. But when you have sex with someone, they gain the condition. One of them, while the condition remains, they count as part of your gang. And yeah, okay. So I don't have a string on her, but I've got the but she's part of my gang now. Okay. So
I mean, what I'm wondering is obviously that the mechanics of that situation are
sure.
Little that move makes it a little bit by remove, but how do you know?
So I walk up to her and I see that she's in the dress, and like I don't think I need to do a heck of a lot of math. And like and I maybe even think it's the Countess, because I just catch her from behind. And I'm like, Countess. And she turns, and it's the fucking Queen wearing the Countess's dress. And so like I do like 5 seconds of mental math, and then I just plow forward pretending she's the Countess. So and I kind of go up to her and I say, in that kind of like magical realism Shakespeare, if you're wearing someone else's clothes, like people can't tell that it's not you. And so I walk up to her and I say, Countess, I hadn't expected to see you this evening after I hadn't expected to see you. I hadn't expected to see you the rest of the evening. What do I say? Usually Gerard's command performances are lengthy affairs.
Don't worry, Madame Celine. It was quite satisfactory. I don't think he could give another performance tonight.
Oh, you are positively glowing, so I suspect not. The way he was looking at you from the stage, I'm sure that, well, I wouldn't want to keep you unless you'd care for a nightcap.
I would love to, but I'm afraid my absence might be noted soon. So I must...
Oh, having just divested yourself of a husband, I feel as if you should enjoy your independence while you have it.
Well, maybe when you have a new show, I will return, and we can maybe make it a private affair.
Yes, a closed dress rehearsal. Lovely.
Super.
And so, yeah, I feel like I don't think I want to like push this any further.
Sure. Yeah.
But I will do the like very familiar like kiss to either cheek. It's lovely to have you. It's lovely to have you back in Paris. You spend too much time. You've spent too much time holed up in that dreary estate.
So do you think that it's obvious to her that you're pretending, or is she maybe thinking that you don't recognize her at all?
Man, like I want it to be a thing. Like I said, like I want it to be a thing where, like the whole thing with the switching dresses and everything kind of seems to have been, and Gerard treating her like someone else has been kind of like a little private play that we've been doing just for her. And I want it clear that this is part of that.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. So she is very familiar and like not like you would expect. Certainly nothing like you've ever gotten from a French royal. She's much more like informal than them.
Yeah. Positively Austrian.
Yeah. So yeah, you
yeah, like the two cheek rub with the air kiss.
Yeah.
And then one of those, and I'll have the playwright get started now, I say. Our librettist. I will see to it that our librettist begins tomorrow.
Yeah, perfect.
Ta-ta! Okay. And very informal, like later sister kind of goodbye.
Okay. And I guess when the queen returns to her room, how does she find Orly and Zoe? Sorry, you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, so I think that Orly will have will just be in her sort of underclothes. I think Zoe will have dressed again. Yeah.
So you're just here ready to do the reverse switcheroo, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's all very above board.
Yep.
Okay. Is there any kind of communication about what just happened, or is it again very on the QT?
Yeah, as Zoe is in here, I won't ask any questions. I will, give the Queen a knowing smile as we're sort of getting changed back again, but I won't, actually ask her anything or say anything.
Okay. Father Jean, what? Where do we find you in the kind of post reception, or at least post performance?
I think that probably I won't be returning to Versailles in the Cardinal's carriage. I think instead I might, let me think. I think I will stay in Paris tonight and return to Versailles tomorrow.
Okay. Do you want to do a quick closing epilogue style scene for everyone? How about we start with Father Jean? So, unless you want time to think.
No.
Okay.
I seek out Liliane, and I say to Liliane that I believe that I can further her her ambitions. If she is willing to play a part for me.
So I think she's all too willing to use your influence to further her career, if that's what it means.
I need her to come to Versailles with me tomorrow. Okay. And I think we'll settle for that.
Okay. Orally, how about you?
I just muted myself after being unmuted. I think for orally, it will be sort of again returning to the to Versailles, and I think the Queen and Zoe are getting into one of the carriages, and already has another that she's getting into sort of behind them, and I think just as she will kind of, as Zoe is helping the Queen in into the carriage, she'll sort of look back to Aurelie, and Aurelie will just give her a thin smile and climb into her own carriage, and the sort of little curtain will come down.
Perfect. And our leading lady tonight?
And I love that as soon as you said epilogue, I knew what my epilogue was going to be. And then Alan did his thing. So I swear to God, Alan, this is not in response to your thing, but it just fits perfectly with it because it's what I intended to do all along. But Liliane is like walking back to the theater from wherever she met Father Jean. And like it's that thing where she's walking and like a block behind her, Chloe is following. And like before she, and like Chloe follows her back, and Chloe like saw that she met with Father John, or like saw that she went and visited somebody, whatever. Like Chloe's clearly been keeping tabs on her. Probably didn't overhear the conversation or anything like that, but it's clearly kind of, just tailing her. And she comes back to the theater. She goes into her dressing room, and Chloe like comes to me, opens the door to my dressing room, just nods, and and I like take my wig off and kind of just pull my hair back, and I get up, and Chloe and I go to Liliane's room, and we knock on the door. She opens the door, and we shove it open, and we close it behind us, and we beat the shit out of her. With like a "Don't you ever upstage me again."
That's a terrible way to end. Terribly brilliant way to end. Okay. Let's stop
Don't
the
tell her.
book.
You know, she can show up at like next game. She can show up at court with like a black eye and a split lip and a and like looking like she got mugged. But yeah, but we thrash her. So
Okay, so that's a wrap.